G'day guys, my name is Don and you're watching my channel Donastronomy. A big apology for any of my subscribers who got a notification saying I've got a new video, clicked the link and nothing there. I pulled it. I'm sorry, I've never done that before. But I had to pull it. Now, the reason I pulled it was I was making a video about gradient removal and there was 4 different common techniques used by astrophotographers in their gradient removal process. Now the programs I was using was RC-Astro GradientXTerminator, I was using GraXpert, I was using PixInsight's dynamic background extraction and its gradient removal tool. I have to stress I don't have the latest PixInsight. I'm running this old Mac Pro here from 2016. I can't upgrade to the new one. Apparently the new one is better. And a method that in Photoshop called the dust and scratches method. Now there's plenty of videos on it. Mine's quite different because I've developed my own technique over the years, but you'll be able to get to see that in my process anyway. So this is not a competition. It's not a video about who does the best job. This is a video about a bad image I got, M100. It's a galaxy and it was taken years ago, and it's got extreme gradients that are beyond gradient removal tools. And so this is just to see which one does the best, just straight off the back without too much fuss. And obviously my gradient removal technique that I've been using. So the reason I pulled it was Titch had sent a comment, and in my first video it was about RC-Astro's GradientXTerminator and a technique, a process that I'd missed, and it was that I forgot to mask the galaxy. And as soon as he said it I just went shit, because I've seen RC-Astro's website and I've seen the video on there and where they show you how to do it. So it was a process I missed, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull it because Titch said
I've decided to take it out.
Look, I've made the video again and it's fairer to RC-Astros now. I've got a better comparison than I had in the first video, because I've been able to use more aggressive techniques with RC-Astro than I could before, because now that the galaxy is masked, so I've actually got a better result. And I'm glad Titch pointed that out, because now I'm going to redo the video and I'll show you the results. I'll compare them all, and the RC-Astro was much better than the first video. So without further ado, I'm going to take 2 and let's get started. Here's the horrible image I was telling you about, M100, and as you can see there's a lot of light pollution. There's gradients with really bad gradients that are all over this image, and they're pretty severe, and I don't expect any gradient removal tool to remove everything. So from my last video I made the mistake where I didn't mask before using RC-Astro. This time I'm going to. So I've saved you the pain and I've created my mask. So I've masked all the stars, bright stars, and all the galaxies. So this time the image is also inverted, so only the background is going to be affected. Now I'm going to go to RC-Astro here, and again, to save everybody the pain, I've gone through these settings, every combination. This is what I've come up with that's worked the best to get the gradient removals, and it's 2 steps. So the first is I'm going to apply that setting there with the aggression high and the detail medium, and as you can see it's done a wonderful job of getting rid of a lot of these things. So let's deselect that. Now I tried the detail fine with the aggressive high, and what ended up happening, it did get the banding, a bit more of this banding done, but it created big dark halos around these stars, so I couldn't do it. So what I did was go aggressive and medium, and I found that worked to be pretty good. But then I did a second pass, so filter, gradient extrusion, and this time I've gone to the fine detail but the aggressiveness low. And I'll redo that because I forgot to mask. So select, reselect, and we'll try that again. and I'll deselect that. Now I think that's as good as I can get it. There is still some banding there, but hey, that's pretty extreme, and the background has cleaned it up reasonably well, and it's all flat. And if I've tried more passes, but what ended up happening is it just keeps getting darker around the right object. So this is about as good as I can get for RC-Astro, so I'm going to save that now for comparison later. Okay guys, here's our image. We're in PixInsight. I'll use some of the tools I have at my disposal now. The background neutralization tool here is generally the first thing a lot of people apply to even out this background, so I'm just going to go off the default settings now. So I'm going to apply that now. Now, to me, I don't think it's done any favors for this particular image anyway, and I've used this on other images and it's done a good neutralization of the background, but with this image it just seems to have brightened those that background and those gradients, so I don't really want that, so I won't use this in this circumstance. The next method is dynamic background extraction. To save you guys the pain, I've gone through and put all my points in here on areas that represent the background completely, including all the gradients, and obviously not around the galaxies or bright stars. And fooling around with this, a tolerance of 3 seemed to work the best for me with this particular image. I've changed my sample size to 50 just to mainly so I can see what it's actually sampling. I'm using this correction mode of subtraction. I'm discarding the background model, I don't want that, but I don't want to replace the image, I want to compare, so I'm just going to run that and we'll have a look at it. And it's done a pretty good job. I'm pretty impressed with what that has done. So let's run now the gradient correction on top of that. Now this is again not the latest gradient correction because I don't have the latest PixInsight version, but I've been fooling around with this, and to save you guys the pain of going through it all with my experimentation, I've come up with a threshold of around about 40, works the best for me on this image anyway, and the scaling right down to 1 because it's got complex gradients in it. And as you'll see, I have tried this and it does work. You see in the last sentence there, you probably can't read it, but it says lower values allow for the generation of more complex gradients representing more local variations, and the default is 5. So I'm taking that right down to 1, and I found that's pretty good, so I'm going to apply that now. Okay, so I think it's come up pretty well running those couple of applications. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm going to save that file now for comparison later. Okay, we are in GraXpert now, and I've already created my grid, and I think that's pretty good. Just get that away from that bright star. I haven't got anything on bright stars, or there's not one over there. And I've got nothing around the galaxies here or these little ones. So I think it's a good representation of the background. So let's, first of all, there's 4 different modes here. We're going to try all of those, but we'll try this one first now that I've created my grid. And we will calculate that background. Okay. Let's get rid of this grid. So that's the gradient corrected. So that was original, so before and after. And again, it's cleaned it up nicely. All this kind of green cast and that is gone. have a look at that. It's reasonably flat. That hasn't really cleaned this up again, so let's try another method. We'll go back to original here and we'll try splines, and we will calculate the background there. Okay, again, that's the corrected and that's the original. I think that has done even a slightly better job. Okay, so this time we're going to try krigging, I think it is. So we'll calculate the background there. Okay, so that's krigging, and so that's the original there, and that's with it corrected, and I think that's pretty good. I think that's the best out of them so far. It seems to have removed a lot of that purple banding. There's just some of this grey banding left, this darker banding across here. So the last method here is the AI method, in which case you don't have to calculate all the points for this. It will do it automatically. So we'll go back to the original and we will try the AI version this time. And again, it's done a reasonable job. The beauty about the AI version is you don't have to click and create this grid for the background. It seems to intelligently know what to avoid and where the background is. As you can see from there, it's done a pretty good job straight off the bat. But even this method still hasn't removed that. But look, let's call that, I've got a feeling that this last method might have been the best one. I'll just have a look at that again. I will save this now for comparison later as the GraXpert or GradientXTerminator. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Okay, we'll move on now to my favourite, good old dust and scratches in Photoshop. Okay, I'm just moving myself over to the other side of the screen so you can see what's going on over here. So here's our image now in Photoshop. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to Control A, select that, Control A, Control C to copy it, and I want to create a new file. Now, because I've copied this background, it's going to duplicate, not duplicate, but it's going to duplicate all the formulas. So if I go create, I know it's that when I go to Control A and select again and Control V, it's going to paste that perfectly. So now I have a duplicate image, so that's the original, and a duplicate image here. Now we're working on the duplicate image at the moment, so what I want to do now is I want to take a sample. I'm going to come over to here, set foreground color. Now I want to sample the background. I want to sample not too close to this galaxy. I want to sample a good representation of the background, so I might sample about here. And as you can see, that's put a dot over there, and I'm going to go OK. So now that has set my background to the same background where I've just sampled. So now what I can do is I will create here a new layer, and now with my rectangle tool I am going to draw around that, and now that has pasted the same background onto this new layer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap those around so that the duplicated image is on top. That's, I want to subtract only these bad gradients here. As you can see, there's a lot of green around here and purple and blacks. So I want to protect the galaxies. There's a few little galaxies here and there, and these brighter stars I want to protect as well. So what I'm going to do now is, because I've got my background color underneath, I'm going to select the eraser tool here, and you want to make sure that the opacity is 100% and you've got a nice soft brush and the hardness all the way down to 0. So now I'm going to expand my brush to cover that galaxy, and I'll click and remove the galaxy, and as you can see, the background color is the same. Now with these other ones, because it's a different part of the image and the background is different because the gradient's different, I'm not going to do that technique, so instead I'm going to go over to my spot healing brush. Now I will select, get rid of these big stars, and there's a small galaxy up there. I want to make sure that that's not removed in the gradient removal process. Okay, so I think I've got most things protected now. Now I go up to a filter, a noise, dust and scratches. Now as you can see, it's picked up those gradients well. So with the radius, you don't want to go overboard. I mean, if you push it right up, you'll see how soft that goes. Sure, the gradients background's still there, but it's become really soft, and what you really want is, you don't want it too hard, but you want to be able to see some of those rougher gradients there as well, because this is what you want to subtract from the image. So I'm pretty happy with around there, which is about 40. So having done that, now what we're looking at is basically what is going to get subtracted in the next process that we're going to do. So we're going to go back to our original image now, and we're going to go image, apply image. Now we want to make sure that this blending mode is set to subtract, and the source is now going to be this new file that we created, Untitled 1, which has got the background in it. I set the offset for 30, that's just what I like. I usually operate on 30 until I go to finalize my image. Now press OK, and as you can see, the gradients here are all gone, just like magic. And even if I stretch this image, you can see the gradients are completely removed. So for me, this is hands down the best way of getting rid of complicated and extreme gradients. Now there will be a little bit of noise left over, but that can be extracted in any of your favorite noise reduction programs or applications. In my case, I'll probably use Camera Raw, that has a great noise reduction process in it, so that's what I'll probably use. But as you can see there, it's done a really good job of removing the gradients and all those details. Even that little galaxy up here and over here has all been saved. So hopefully this will work for you. It certainly works for me, and if you do have those images that you think are no good, as you can see here, you can revive them. So this is a method I've been using for quite some time now, and the methods that I've used in Photoshop can probably be done in PixInsight as well. It's just I don't know PixInsight, so I don't know how to do that in PixInsight. So just to save people in the comments going, well, you can do this in PixInsight as well. Yes, you probably can, but I'm not familiar with it. So this is just how I do it in Photoshop. So guys, if you guys have reached the end of this video, then thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.